the feed of the animal is so important to the quality of the manure that they produce. The microbes work with the roots of the plants to provide the plants with those very complex nutrients. This is the farm's composting center. So we make biologically active compost, and one of the things we struggled with at the beginning was figuring out a good source of nitrogen. And we tried a lot of different stuff. We tried cow manure, we tried chicken manure, and it didn't work for us. And I think we realized later that the feed of the animal is so important to the quality of the manure that they produce. And if we want to put it in our compost, we have to find an animal that is eating some really good stuff. So domesticated livestock in here are not getting the best nutrition. So we weren't able to use the manure. So we kind of scoured the entire region to see what we could use. And there are a few elephants that are about 10 to 15 minutes from our farm. And we visited them and we took some of their manure, brought it back to our farm, just being like, it doesn't hurt to try. What the heck? They're here, we might as well try it. And it worked. It made really good compost for us. And the heating cycles were on track. We got good temperatures throughout turning the pile. So that's just what we use now. It's great. We live in Thailand and we have abundant elephants.
It's really good compost material because it's semi-digested. Yeah. So we're getting a lot of different microbes. And we only have to use like 9 or 10% high nitrogen in our compost. Like this is also really high in kind of nitrogen content.
It doesn't stink. I can't believe it.
No.
It doesn't stink at all.
No. And like it breaks apart like really easily.
It's just like plant fiber.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And what do you mix that with?
It's kind of like a mix, but we're using wood chips, we're using leaves, and we're using weeds.
Fresh weeds.
It's anything we can really find on the farm that also has a lot of like microbial activity. It's leaves from a lot of very diverse sources. And we use it in like this 1 meter by 1 meter cage that we're setting up. And then it goes through 3 heating cycles. So it's going through, like between 55 to 75 Celsius. After that, we flip it, and like we flip it about 3 times. But in 20 days, you have this like incredible biological compost where you only need like 2 kilos an acre to add the biology back, which means for you at home, you only need 2 kilos of this, and your garden will be thriving again.
Yeah, so I think traditionally people have looked at compost and adding agricultural inputs from the mineral perspective, the minerals that's maybe missing from the soil, you want to amend it. So that's why people take soil chemistry tests, and that's equally as important. But for a long time, nobody regarded that the biology, the life, and the microbes that are in the soil work in symbiosis with the roots of the plant to provide it the nutrients that they also need. So maybe nutrients that we don't even realize that the plants need. The microbes work with the roots of the plants to provide the plants with those very complex nutrients. So when you make compost that has a ton of biology in them, you're able to just inoculate a small amount of it into your garden. And if you provide the right conditions for them, they grow and they thrive and they continue to grow and live in your soil.
Yeah.
So cool.
And I think some like really cool things is that the soil is really this like predator-prey ecosystem. And I think for me, I didn't really realize this when we started gardening or farming or creating biological active compost. But there's like certain sets of groups of organisms that are eating each other and kind of releasing the nutrients through like kind of the consumption and the ecosystem in there. So once you kind of shift or at least when I shifted my thinking to seeing land as kind of like the ability for like a tomato to grow without us intervening, like that's really powerful. Like we want to get to a place where we can grow rice without any input. And the way to really get that is to kind of create this amazing ecosystem.
What's a tip for people at home that want to create more biology in the compost that they're making? What is one way that they could do that?
Yeah, I would start small and don't be discouraged. It actually took us almost 2 years to figure out the right recipe that works for us and our climate. And yeah, we just kept going, and it's possible. We use about 60% of our compost is made from brown materials, either leaves, cardboard, wood chips, and 30% is fresh green materials. So we mainly use weeds that we just collect around the farm. Weeds are quite dense in terms of the nutrients that are in there. So we use just weeds in terms of the green materials from around the farm, and then 10% is elephant manure. Yeah, but
So high nitrogen.
high nitrogen, that's right, yeah.
So someone could try to use chicken manure.
Yeah,
or-
if you have chickens at home, you can use chicken manure. If you have cows nearby where you are, you could definitely try cow as well.
Yeah, one thing wanted to add is like I think initially I was really discouraged from using weeds. I think that was like a big mistake because the really interesting thing is weeds that grow on your land show you what nutrients are deficient in your land. So the weeds that are growing and like you have a calcium deficient soil will be high in calcium because it's growing to provide the calcium back into the earth. And so if you use the weeds that are in your garden or near your land, they actually will contain the right nutrients for your garden. And that's just really powerful. Like you can like on one of our other properties, it's very, very low in potassium, but there's these like really big ferns and those only come up when there's a lot of like very low potassium. But now if you make kind of like a compost with that, that compost will be very rich in potassium. And then actually that weed will stop coming because it will give the weed a signal that the land no longer needs the potassium. So you can kind of fix these small things in your garden by the things you already have.
And then the few other things we had to figure out how to get right was moisture. That was difficult because Thailand is quite like a humid climate. So I think we were over watering our compost for a long time when we realized that maybe we didn't need as much water. Once we cut down on that, our compost, the heating cycles went by much more smoothly and it heated up much better. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting the right, mix of brown and green and the moisture.
Yeah.
Keep practicing and don't give up.
Yeah. 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 We were very excited when we successfully made our first pile. We were like through the roof. And then after that, it's pretty much smooth sailing because you can just keep replicating. When we still make mistakes, there are still some times when the pile doesn't get exactly to the right temperature. Then we take a step back and figure out what we did wrong. Yeah.
I think the helpful thing was also testing small batches.
Yeah.
So like doing, like
Maybe half
before
the size.
making this, you can do a 10 cup test where you do the same ratios, but you only need 10 cups of materials and you leave it on your porch in your house. And then you just come the next day and see if the temperature went up or not. Like if you touch it, did it go up? And then you can very easily test if that mix is good before you spend like 4 days building this crazy thing. You can do a small test and just touch it and see.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would anytime you're going out looking for a source of manure, just ask the farmer what they've been eating. And that will actually help you figure out quite a bit if that's going to be a good manure source for your compost or not.
It's like antibiotics, probably.
Antibiotics, or if there's a lot of processed food that are really high in salts, those often won't work in compost and they won't heat up your compost very well.
This one is a kind of interesting design that we use. This is kind of like a donut shape. It's kind of like a Johnson 2 bioreactor or something, if people are familiar. But we add our finished biocomplete, or like the style of compost that we're using, into this donut shape, and then we add worms. So the shape allows it to basically get oxygen from both sides. So this portion of the pile will get oxygen from the outside, and the inner portion will get oxygen from the inside. And so you don't really want to create a really big one because in the center will kind of lack oxygen. And so the donut shape really works well. And then now we don't need really expensive bins to put the worms in. You can just throw your worms in here and keep the moisture good, and like you basically get really good vermicompost in a few months.
So this will turn into vermicompost over time.
You're going through the compost cycle and then adding it to the worm. So what you're getting is just so good that you need very little, and like your garden will definitely flourish.
Like the best fertilizer ever.
Definitely.